Hello, everyone. Welcome back to ZSR for Game 3 of the Grand Finals of the Zelda 2 Randomizer tournament between MiRai and Chromataclysm. Here on commentary is Blumsha. Also, Patrick, I think, is going to be joining in a little bit and helping track it. Enjoy the race. I'm going to hand it over to Blumsha.
Hello. Golden Devil already said all of the important stuff. This is game 3. It will not be the last game. This is a best of 5 series, and each runner has one game, excuse me. Game 2 was just before this, and MiRai took that. I guess that's a spoiler, but it's as much of a spoiler as I'm going to give. So if you want to actually see how that played out, you can, if you didn't see it, you can watch the VOD later. The runners will be starting this race in, I believe, about 20 seconds. This is the standard tournament. So the only really interesting flag is that we have a 50-50 chance of the flute being required if Three-Eyed Rock shows up on the Eastern continent. Other than that, everything is basically normal. There will be 3 palaces in the east, 3 in the west, one of which is in Death Valley, and 1 on Maze Island. We have no idea which palaces will be where. In order for them to be in logic, a runner needs either the fairy spell or the any key. We have no idea where those will be. My goodness. Chroma's screen is very patchwork for me, but he has just found Bagu. They have both just found Bagu. And let me attempt to refresh and see if I can clear that up. Okay, it's not me apparently. Then I apologize for the delay. They are both in Medicine Cave, it looks like. This is often a difficult cave to do on very low levels. It looks like the first screen is the hardest part, so it looks like they're both through into the second screen. There would be an item in this cave. It is one of, I want to say, 5 item locations in the east. MiRai just took a death. Chroma got the item, but I am not intimately familiar with his sprite set, so I don't know what it is. And it looks like Chroma has realized that his graphics are bleeding. The boots. Okay, MiRai now has the boots as well. I think Chroma was resetting his cart to attempt to fix the graphics problems. And now they're both up and aid to North Palace, and off we go. This might be an islands biome. Yep, lots of islands. That is the wrong end of Saria, but we can easily get to the right end of Saria on MiRai's side. I think that was Shield Town. He is actually going in for it, in part to check the hints, I imagine. We'll see if he actually takes Shield. Chroma has found a palace. That is P4 with the Moa. And he is checking the Iron Knuckles for levels. That's 200 XP. That's excellent. MiRai's screen is frozen for me. Is it running for anyone else? Now Chroma into Saria as well. And he is also going in. Okay, let me refresh again. Sorry. And now I see MiRai picking up Shield. And it's cost 44 at Magic 1. That is, I think, the highest I have literally ever seen a Shield spell cost. Chroma is going in for it as well. And there is a cave to the south through a swamp. MiRai's going in there. Chroma actually up aid. The cave MiRai fell into was Fairy Cave, so they can't get anywhere through it. So he just up and aid back to start as well, and we'll try a different direction on the overworld and see what we can find.
Hey,
Chroma has found...
Oh, sorry,
Hello.
I'm late.
No worries. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, I was teaching right up. Looks like we've got easy seeds so far with islands and boots already. So
Yeah. That obviously is the only item we found. Chroma just found Magic Container Cave, what is Vanilla Magic Container Cave, but it was just a pea bag. I didn't even see whether he ended up getting a level from it. I think it was tiny, and he just up and ate anyway, so whatever.
we
MiRai has somehow found the east. I missed that, so he's on water tile. Hey, we already have the boots.
yeah, he actually found Death Mountain as well. And what was really nice is he found Hammer Cave, and that was it's a partitioned Death Mountain, so you have to go in through that one cave to get to Hammer Cave. You can go through the rest of it, and there's going to be no other way.
Oh my. So we're going to see a lot of transitioning through that.
Yeah, and we probably are going to have a required raft to get to Maze Island, or actually, no, it could still be a cave to Maze Island and a raft to the other side of Death Mountain. But yeah, this is a strange map.
Patrick has found the bridge that appears to be to the east and found a magic container on desert tile. And okay, now I see he's in basically the same place. And now he found Death Mountain from the back way, it looks like, and just found Hammer Cave, and he's going.
Yeah, 112-ish is pretty low for Hammer Cave at the time.
Yeah. All
Even
right,
for
we'll try it
Chroma.
again later if we absolutely need it. He's got going to water tile. And MiRai is now going back into Hammer Cave at 112. So, okay. He doesn't want that level.
Yeah, Chroma did just set the world record for 131 any percent. So he should be able to do this. He should be okay with Hammer Cave, but I wouldn't want to
just
do it
because you can doesn't necessarily mean you want to.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun.
So he's trying a connector. Chroma is trying a connector cave on the east and working on a Lizaltho. I hope it's red, but it's only 70 XP, so that's not what he wanted. So he's turning around and leaving that cave.
Yeah, it was not throwing anything, so it was definitely the red one.
Yeah.
And we've got a red Dyra in the dark here, which is super fun.
Yep, and MiRai is through that. Oh. And... Ooh, nice kill on the magic bouncy cat. I would have gone into the lava for sure.
Yeah, there's a reason these guys are in the finals. They both are just handling these red Dyras with no problem. And that's not easy.
Both phenomenal runners, obviously. That's why they're here. And that's why nobody is surprised that they're here. Obviously, there were other contenders, but these are two of the runners that no one is surprised to see in the grand final. And it's just a heart container, so that's an up A for MiRai, and I assume it will be an up A for Chroma as well when he gets there. So it's back to the west and back to looking for other item caves in that islands biome.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got an open world and you've got the east and the west both open, islands with boots is a good way to hopefully find a few item locations really quickly and not get stuck, especially when I guess the east is mountainous, it looks like. So yeah, this is exactly what I would be doing here too. We want to maximize our chances of how many items we can find over the shortest period of time. So MiRai's just found Heart Container Cave.
Yeah, he first went into one end of Parappa Cave, which looks the same as Heart Container Cave, but the enemies are different. If there's an enemy in that first block, it's the item cave. If there is no enemy and only one enemy in the rest of the cave, then it's the pass-through. And here's our raft, which, as Patrick said earlier, is probably going to be required.
50-50, but we'll see.
Oh, 50-50. We're not sure yet. Okay. Meanwhile, Chroma has found, town names. Rudo? Is that the one that has the jump spell in vanilla? They do have the trophy already. So we'll see what this spell is. And that is Reflect, so it's required. Unless something cool happens with fire. But they both have the trophy, so I'm sure MiRai will be picking up Vanilla Reflect 2 when he gets there. That was probably the other end of the Parappa connector that MiRai already found.
Yeah, one like subtle detail that helped me win against Chroma during the Swiss flags is the Heart Container Cave and Fairy Cave are linked. So if you kill all the enemies in Heart Container Cave, the enemies in Fairy Cave will also disappear. Unless you go into
Wow,
a
I
town to
actually had
reset
no
things.
idea about that. That's so
So
cool.
if you're going in and see the right side of a cave like MiRai just did, that can fool you about which cave you're seeing. So just be careful if you're playing.
Okay, well, so it might have been the end of Fairy Cave rather than the end of Parappa Cave. We don't actually know. That was definitely Trophy Cave that Chroma just found, and this time the pea bag was yummy sized, so he's getting a level, and he's 2 points shy of the next level. So he's going to try to kill that, but it got him instead.
Not a game over with 2 XP to spare, though, so fortunate there.
Yeah, fortunately. So he might go into this palace just to get the level and reset.
I got Palace 1.
Yeah, he'd have to dig deeper there's nothing in the statue, so he'd have to go deeper to get XP. So he'll just probably move on. There's another magic container in Stonehenge tile, the grass tile. And he did get the level there, and we'll see whether he goes back to the palace to up an A, given that he's down to 1 life. Yeah. And MiRai is hot on his heels. He's now in Trophy Cave, and he'll get that. Oops, and the Dara got him too.
Just to
MiRai
mention,
looks.
the reason we're not going into the palaces yet is the logic of the randomizer expects you to be able to open key doors or get through them. It doesn't try to kind of lay out enough keys in the palaces for you, just because there's so many ways to waste keys and it just becomes too much of a headache. Oh, Hammer is a great find if we can find the other side of Death Mountain. But basically, we're expected to have either the fairy spell or the innate key before the randomizer wants you to do palaces. So
Right.
that's always the first thing we're looking for. We want some way to get progression to complete palaces. And they're not going to dip in until we find that.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, especially when there's this much accessible. The other thing they would love to find, if they can, before they start diving palaces, is the glove, because you never know when that will or won't be required. That was the canoe for chromataclysm, which is the raft when you're using the FF1 fighter sprite set that he likes.
Glad you're here to know that, because I had no idea.
It took me several tries to figure out what that was. Yes, but having seen it before on MiRai's side, I knew what I was looking for. But that is, in fact, the canoe. I do not recall who made this sprite set, but they did a fantastic job. And MiRai now found his hammer, so we're all tied up on items and spells. Both runners did take the shield spell. Both runners have claimed the reflect spell. So now we're on to new territory, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, if we get more of the west covered, it's looking like we may have to go into the east and really kind of start going through caves and try to find something. Because we're kind of fast running out of places to find things.
Yeah, I unfortunately do not have. Oh, I can use chromas. Haha. Yeah, that is in fact all of the item locations on the west, except for Spec Rock, if you count Spec Rock, which obviously you don't. It's just the way the tracker Chroma uses works. So there are still 2 towns to find. No, there's only 1 town to find. He found a town that he found the jump spell in Mido, but couldn't get it. Obviously, it requires the medicine. I completely missed that. But we are still looking for Raru, I believe, is the first town. Oh, and MiRai just found it. So we'll
With
see what's
Thunder,
here.
no
I missed
less.
Oh, Thunder, very nice. And also the potential for a hint, and here's a hint. And that's Karok disappears with the candle, so nobody is going to try to find the item in P4.
Yeah, the hints often are just good for negative, where we know where not to look, even if it is like, if they don't want the jump spell, which I'm actually, no, I see life is in Darunia. So if they got the hint for the child and it was, P5 has the child, that's an easy place to just say we don't even need to look there, even if we're still looking for important items. So
Yeah, it's that could save you 5 to 10 minutes if it's a particularly nasty P5.
yeah, finding the glove hint's nice, but knowing for certain that you don't have to do something is also often very valuable.
And speaking of P5, you can tell that that's P5 because there is nothing in it. Has the frowny faces on the pillar capitals, is how I remember. P5 is frowning at you because it's so mean. But if it doesn't have anything in the statue, then it's P5. The frowny faces that have a 50-50 jar or iron knuckle, that would be P2. There are other ways to tell, but that's the one I use, is the column capital.
Yep, that is P5 versus P2 for sure. We saw a boulder block caved on MiRai's side, but it was up north and he did not explore it. So won't find out what it's there yet, but it's probably just jump cave or something similar, but it could be the last continent connector. We're looking for a cave between two continents and the raft tile at this point. With these flags, we've got anything goes for continental connectors. So in the vanilla game, you have two caves and the raft on the west, with the caves going to death. Oh, well, here we go. We've got cave to Maze Island behind the rock. So we have got everything we need, and unless an important item is underneath the boulder in Death Mountain, we don't need to go there anymore. But yeah,
so
sorry.
Maze Island. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to finish my thought where I would say that in the vanilla game, you've got two caves and the raft on the west. The raft goes to the east, the caves go to Death Mountain, and then the east has the bridge to Maze Island. But with the randomizer, we can just set it to put those connectors anywhere, so we don't know in advance what's going to go where.
Yep. So unfortunately, we don't have Fairy to make Maze Island quicker. And MiRai isn't in the mood to attempt Link Feet because it's really hard and unlikely to actually save time. Here is the first item. This is what in vanilla would be the child's location. We'll see what's here. Ooh, and Chroma, it looks like, found the XP pinatas, or was that MiRai in this cave? I didn't see, but chat is telling us that the orange Lizalfos are 300 XP each. That's fantastic. If you need to do some more leveling at any point, that's what you would go for.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have seen that basically be the difference in a race in this tournament. I think it was MiRai who found, and I think it was also Lizalfos, but they may have been blue, and I don't remember who the opponent was. But he checked them early on Maze Island, I believe it was, and ended up just several levels ahead, and it made the entire rest of the seed so much faster for him.
And that was 500 for the blue one, so yeah, this is going to be some good grinding if MiRai wants it.
Yeah, so that makes him feel a little better about having to go through all of these Maze Island encounter scenes. And now Chroma is going to find out about the blue Lizalfos in a swamp tile, assuming it doesn't kill him first. You have Reflect. Can you not cast Reflect still? He is upset, as you might imagine, about that death. Words were said which cannot be repeated. I believe I saw MiRai go into the palace on Maze Island, but I did not see what it was.
It was Great Palace. So we'll be coming back here later.
So it's accessible from the west, so that's actually relatively good. And there's the glove. So as MiRai would say, free seed, easy game.
We still need Fairy, but
they do still need Fairy or the NE key. Probably they'll need Fairy anyway, although that's not a sure thing. But he could definitely go into some palaces if he wanted to and start checking for things. But most likely he'll end up going back to the east now that he has better levels. Attack 4 is generally pretty good for overworld exploration. And of course, there are more levels relatively easy to get, as he's going to get another 500 here, for example. We'll see what leveling strategy he wants.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see MiRai go right back to the east because the only thing he needs now is Fairy. Chroma's picking up Fire, which can be linked to any other spell. So once we get out with some enemies, we'll probably see him test that out. It was 52 now, but it's going to drop quickly. And if it's something good like Thunder or Reflect or Fairy, that can be really helpful.
Yeah, he did just cast it, so we know it's not Jump. I think we know it's not Shield because I don't think the sprite changed color. But it could be Reflect. It could be Thunder because there were no enemies. It could be Life. We'll see if he tries casting it again later in this cave, since this is an excellent place to try to kill things with magic. It could also be Spell.
Yeah, it looks like we have one invisible Moa in that room, so he could get ambushed on the way out.
And just another pea bag, but at least it's a big juicy pea bag. And this is risen pea bag, of course, is the common name for it, and you can tell it's risen because when you go in, it has the stairs leading up as opposed to the little pit leading down.
Yep. Yeah, the east is different from the west, where we only have 2 caves in the east with items. Then there's going to be 2 more in the town of New Kasuda, which we can definitely get to with the hammer. And MiRai has found the 7th magic container, so he'll definitely be able to get at least the first item, and depending on where the spell is, the second. And then there's the water tile and desert tile, which we've both already seen. So
And
we're quickly
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, we're quickly running out of places where we can find an item, and I think we're just going to be looking for fairies now, which may be what Chrome is getting right at this minute.
Yeah, I missed the sign. He might not even have checked it, and there it is, fairy spell. And Chroma looks displeased because he knows he could have had that a long time ago. It's essentially free on the overworld, as long as you can survive a Moabop or 2.
Yeah, I don't think Chroma's seen the Boulder Block Cave, though, so we'll see how he gets to Maze Island to find that glove, but he could be at a little bit of a disadvantage here.
He did see the town that was next to the Boulder Blocked Cave, because he marked on his tracker that Mito has the jump spell, and it was Mito up there.
That was before I signed on then, so whoops.
And in fact, now that... Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. That was pretty early on. And now that he has Fairy, he can also get down stab when he goes back there. So that hopefully is reasonably high on his list of potential destinations, because he knows he can get down stab, and he knows he can check that cave that might be a connector, and as we know, in fact, is a connector. But first, it looks like he's going to dip a palace. I was not looking. This is either 1 or 4.
It's 1.
This is 1.
This makes sense. He doesn't know where the glove is.
Yeah.
And so that's really like his only blocker at this point. So he may as well start doing palaces because he might come across the glove.
Right, there is at this point nothing preventing the glove from being in a palace, and it turns out that this palace is completely free. So he's just going to kill Horsehead, and we'll see if he goes back in for the item.
Yeah, I expect he will. But basically, if you get into one of these palaces, you're either going to find the glove, or it's going to be glove blocked, and you know that the glove's not going to be there, or you're going to find the item and that's not the glove. So there's not... If you feel like you have to do palaces anyway, and obviously you do to finish the game, it's kind of a good way to make progress while you're still searching it.
Yeah, so the worst case scenario is that you get useful information, and the best case scenario is that you get something that you need done, either the palace finished or a necessary item.
Yeah, we just happen to know now that Chroma's kind of wasting time here because he's not going to find an important item. He might find the any key, but that's low percentage, and nope, he's done in Palace 1 now.
Ooh, interesting. He's sticking around to try to claim the last 200 XP he needs, apparently, for this level.
He may also just be walking it out because he hasn't lost a life, and I think he's just one more room from the entrance.
Ah, okay. So he might not just be looking for the XP. He's just going to head out on foot. Good call. Ah, that was a Thundercast. So hopefully these will only take 1 or 3. I was going to say 1 or 2, but that was 3, I believe, hits to finish these off after the Thundercast. Blue Iron Knuckles and Blue Lizalfos on the other side are a couple of the few enemies that don't usually die to a single Thundercast. And I think Chroma might have accidentally misclicked and taken the wrong level because he didn't use all of the XP he had, but he decided to up an A anyway.
Oh, MiRai just found New Kasuto and found a really good hint that the ending key is in P6.
That will be interesting. And there's the medicine, which would be the jump spell if he goes back there. He will be passing by. And I don't and he doesn't have fairy, so he hasn't had downstab yet either. So he'll probably be making that a destination at some point in the foreseeable future also.
Yeah, MiRai is also a fan of skipping upstab if he doesn't need to. So with life in Darunia, I would expect him to just skip upstab and rely on jump plus fairy to be able to skip upstab blocks if needed.
Right. If I remember correctly, there is one potential room in GP that has a hard upstab block that can't be skipped that way.
Yeah, there's a community room that can block you for sure, but
the chance of that room being in GP is not high, and everything else MiRai is perfectly comfortable skipping, of course. And I guess that must have been spell here in New Kasuto.
It was indeed.
And so he can get into Spell Cower, and it's just a heart, but nobody's going to complain about that. Well, sometimes MiRai would complain about that, but probably not in this particular match, in this particular tournament. In Max Rando, he complains about starting with too many hearts.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure what MiRai is looking for at this point, though. He may have just been picking that up opportunistically, but he knows he doesn't need a spell item for fairy. So,
have we seen both of the palaces outside Death Valley in the east? Do we know that flute isn't required?
That's a good point. We've seen either 3 or 6, just east of the Bridge Inn. I don't know if we've seen another one though.
Yeah, if we did, I missed it, but that would not be surprising. It was that it? Okay.
So yeah, so we definitely don't need the flute. There's the raft tile, which will take us to the other side of Death Mountain, I believe.
Check it out just to be sure. And yep, you are exactly right. Spec Rock may only be accessible this way, if I remember right. But
yeah, that's
MiRai
all
doesn't. But MiRai doesn't need anything that could be in Spec Rock, so yeah, it's just going to be back to it's basically palace diving time for MiRai.
Yeah, he needs to find Old Kasuto to get the fairy spell, but beyond that, he's ready to go.
Oh, he doesn't have that yet. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, so he's just looking for the town.
Yeah, so we've got both 3 and 6 on the east, which means Palace 2 would be in the Valley of Death.
Have we seen the entrance to that?
I think MiRai just did to the north of where he is.
Ah, okay. All right, so other than that one last town that he's searching for, Old Kasuto, MiRai has everything he needs.
Yeah, I think Chroma must have gone south here, or kind of taken a divergent path and missed New Kasuto and the raft tile.
Yeah, and Chroma went into P4, which I believe was back on the west, but he found Karak very quickly, and we know that the item in P4 is just the candle. He is burning this gem for rather fewer XP than he wishes he had, but I'm sure he feels behind at this point.
Yeah, he's kind of giving a wry smile because he was hoping that P-Bag would let him get up to the attack level and double level there, but it did not, and so he kind of skipped another level like he did in P1. And just not making good use of the gems so far.
Yeah, and part of that is luck and bad luck in this case, and part of it is just a risk reward. Do I spend the time it would take to really get the most out of this, or can I not afford that time? And here he is going back to Mito, and he is going to check this connector cave, so he'll find Maze Island now.
Yeah, if
I'm
he
a
gets to the
little
glove quickly,
surprised
he's
he
going to be
didn't.
in good shape.
I'm a little surprised he didn't go into Mito, because I don't think he has yet to get downstab. But he still doesn't have the medicine, so maybe he's waiting until he can get both jump and downstep. He has said that he is perfectly comfortable, playing basically the entire seed without downstep if he has to. He just needs it for GP just in case there are blocks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Chroma's also done a 1-3-1 run with no upstab or downstab. So these two guys,
I didn't realize there were no blocks in vanilla GP.
You have to take an alternate route. Okay, there's MiRai. Happy got his fairy spell, so he is gonna just start doing palaces and go.
Yeah, that's go mode for MiRai, and he might run across the any key in Palace 6, but I doubt with this much magic available, I doubt he will go out of his way to look for it.
Yeah, there is one room in Great Palace, a community room that requires a key and can't be avoided with fairy. So
that's right.
If he sees the item room in Palace 6, he probably will dig it up. But yeah, I think you're right. He's not going to dig around to try to find it. You just kind of gamble on that and hope you have a key in your pocket at that point.
Yeah.
One good strategy is to kind of make a note when you're into a palace if you see a key near the beginning. Just leave it there and then go and get it right before you go into Great Palace.
Right.
Rather than burning it in a place where you can use fairy.
Right. Speaking of places where you can use fairy, MiRai was not quite quick enough and gets a lava bath.
Chrome was just trying to do a link feat, so keep an eye over on him if you haven't seen this before. Yeah, so he just got through that encounter by kind of stopping on the exact right pixel with no momentum, and then doing a one frame tap in one direction, and then a tap in the other direction on the very next frame. It's really hard to do, and it's amazing that he can do it consistently. But yeah, whenever you see him walk onto the screen and just kind of turn around and walk back and pause, he's doing a link feat and just did another one there.
Yeah, the pause buffering is I think to cancel the momentum when you hit that one pixel you need. Do I understand that correctly?
I think it's to make the flip from one direction to the other allow that to take more than one frame. So you can like hit left, pause at the same time, and then you have a chance to buffer the right input.
Okay, cool. And they're finally from his glove.
All right, yeah, so at this point, I think Chrome has got a little bit of a lead. P4 and P1 are not the longest palaces, especially Palace 1, like we saw. But
having them done is good.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a quick seed. We know where everything is, or at least MiRai does for sure. So they're just going to start dive bombing palaces.
Yep. And MiRai just killed a red iron knuckle to get the last XP he needed for a level, and now in he goes. And this is either P3 or P6, but I haven't seen a window yet, so I don't know which one.
Yeah, and Chroma's in P5 with the stained glass windows that we just saw in the last room. Oh, P6. It's got jail bar windows on MiRai's side. Palace 3 has like a 6-pane, like traditional looking window.
Right. There are horizontal crossbars in the P3 windows and not in the P6 windows. Oh, and sorry, I haven't been paying much attention to chat, but Chroma does in fact have the glove. The tracker software eats inputs, so it hasn't shown up yet. But he did in fact find it. And that's just a heart container for the item in P5 for Chroma. He had to ferry through to see what it was. So once you're in there, you might as well just pick it up. But not thrilled about that. But yeah, it's a few seconds.
Okay, this is good information. There are keys in the drop pool, and I think it was a small enemy. So worst case scenario would be in Great Palace. If you run into that key block, you can just kind of grind on Bogos or something similar until you get a key. And we can be almost certain MiRai is going to be out of here as soon as we finish off Barba here. So he's not going to be getting the any key.
And he's not doing Jackhammer strat today. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. I'm not sure how many lives he has remaining. That might be part of the issue. If he doesn't have enough lives to risk it. I missed that menu check.
I don't think he has downstab yet.
That is an excellent point. I forgot about needing that part.
So he just did a really, not subtle, but a smart play there of ferrying over the door. He picked up that key from the enemy drop, and by using ferry there, he saved the key for if he wants to go in. I think he's just going to try to pick up that next level here. Or maybe he's going to go back in and prove me wrong.
Huh. I am also surprised at this, but it does look like he's going back in for the any key. We'll see how long he stays here. Assuming hopefully he finds it quickly. But
I feel like this is a gamble I would not take. I would just bet on the key not being required. And we just saw a key there in the very first room of P6 or the second room. Palace 6 is not far from the raft or from the bridge, which is not far from the entrance to Maze Island. So it won't be quick, but I don't know that I like this play. And I think he just looped.
Yeah, and he decided he doesn't like this play either, and now he's out.
I don't know that I'm qualified to second guess, but yeah, I agree with this play now.
And meanwhile, P5 is doing P5 things, namely being long. So Chroma is still in there.
Yep. So I guess it was P3 that's near the entrance to the east. So MiRai's going to do Palace 2 in Death Valley. And then he'll up A back to the west, go get his downstab probably, go get jump maybe. And then I would expect we'll start seeing him take care of the rest of the palaces.
Yeah, that seems like the obvious route. We'll see if MiRai does the obvious thing or some brilliant non-obvious thing. So here is P2, which is, again, a frowny face palace because it's obnoxious. It is, in fact, longer than P3, both in vanilla and in the randomizer. It has more rooms and a longer path. In the randomizer, I believe it still has more rooms, but whether it's longer and twistier depends mostly on rando rather than on anything vanilla. But it's still frequently quite obnoxious.
Yeah, the way the rando builds it out is kind of based on the vanilla game where certain palaces are linked, and you can tell this by the enemies that they have. So if you have the regular Stalfa skeleton like MiRai just saw, that's kind of group 1 of palaces, which is palaces 1, 2, and 5. And then if you get the armored Stalfos, that's palaces 3, 4, and 6. 3, 4, and 6. So those draw from the same pool of rooms where palaces 1 and 3 are the smallest in their groups, and then 2 and 4, and then 5 and 6. So despite just being the second palace, Palace 2 can end up being really long and unforgiving, especially in the randomizer where it can grow. So it's still not going to be the biggest palace, but it can be a pain for sure.
And if I remember right, the other enemies that you can tell are the thing that MiRai just ferried over, I forget now what they're called. The little Goomas are in one group, and their alternative is the Doom Knockers, the armored horizontal mace throwers are their alternative. And then the wizards in the group that has P4 in it, and the Magos, the orange dudes who teleport and throw fireballs on the floor, are their alternate.
Yep. There's one more I just learned about, and that is the little flames that are on the ground. They turn
Oh.
into Bago Bagos in 1, 3, or 1, 2, and 5, I believe.
Cool. I had no idea that they were coded as enemies. I think that may have been a loop for MiRai. I think that's why he's turning around.
I don't know. With both of them in palaces, I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah, palace route. There are many reasons why you will never see me actually run this game for where anyone is watching. But palace navigation is the biggest of them.
Oh, we've got Guma here on Chroma's side.
Finally. Attack for Guma is no one's idea of a good time, but I'm sure Chroma can get through it. We'll just see how long it takes. And Guma is in chunky boy mode.
It's a little bit harder too without downstab because you can't kind of bounce over him and then reverse the direction. And some people, I think Chroma and MiRai both, will kind of like downstab into his hitbox, kind of hit his arm or his belly and bounce there because he can't do it on his helmet. So this is going to be a take. This is more of a safe strat for Chroma. Like it's kind of his only option.
Yeah. This is the patient version of the Guma fight.
This is how I do it on a good day.
Oh no! Oh, and he was down to 1 or 2 more hits, and he accidentally took a bot, and he is obviously very unhappy.
Yeah, MiRai just passed up the item in Palace 2.
Yeah, it at this point can't be anything. I would say even remotely useful, but the cross is remotely useful, but not useful enough to bother wasting even a few seconds to pick up, especially if you're MiRai.
Yeah. The cross does have the benefit of showing you where Moas are in Great Palace if it's on the east. I think that also applies on Maze Island, but I am not certain.
I have no idea about that. But here's Helmet Head, high Helmet Head, oops, one premature, by Helmet Head. And that's P2 down for MiRai.
So we're tied up on gems for maybe 5-10 more seconds.
Yeah, and there's Guma down on the second try for Chroma. Well done. 1,000 XP, which is great. That actually is going to get him a pretty nice double level.
I almost could triple level if we wanted to, but I don't think we're going to waste that time.
Yeah, not quite.
See, I think MiRai's in Palace 1 now, or is this 4?
I have no idea, I'm afraid. We'll have to wait till we see a window.
Oh, it must be 4 because Palace 1 was short.
Yeah, unless MiRai just took a wrong turn, but that seems unlikely. Horsehead was, I think, basically the first thing Chroma found in P1. Chroma did up and aim back to the west, and I don't know where he's going. I don't know what's down here. It's probably just another palace he's going to.
Maybe he's finally going to Mita, or maybe they have like a
I thought that was in the upper left. I don't think this is the way there. That's why I'm confused. But maybe I'm wrong, and that is where he's going.
It would be fun if they made a gentleman's agreement and said, we're not going to get downstabbed this race.
That would be fun.
But I don't think we'll be so lucky.
Okay, and Chroma was right and I was wrong. This is in fact Mita. And hopefully he does check that boulder cave afterward because he knows he needs a connector.
Oh, he's already found it. He found Maze Island.
Yeah, he's already found it. Okay, I'm just spacing out again. I even forgot what it was a connector to. So this will be down stab, and I assume he's going to take the jump spell while he's here.
I don't think he...
Oh, no, he doesn't have the medicine. Never mind.
Yeah, I think the medicine was in New Pseudo, and Chroma never found that.
Yeah, okay, that's on the Rise tracker. Only one of them found that. So that's that, and I think that was another up and A.
Yep, no sense in walking out of the town if you don't have to.
And now Chroma is going to clear the palaces on the east. So this will be 3, I believe it was.
Yep. I don't know that he actually saw Palace X because that was down near New Kasuto. But I imagine he knows kind of like where he has not explored if that is the case. So I don't think it'll be too much of an impediment.
Yeah. He'll find it eventually and he knows where to look. And I think it was kind of on the way toward the Death Valley entrance also. I think they were kind of nearby each other.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't think this is going to take too long at all. I think we could be in for very close to a sub-hour seed if we don't hit any more roadblocks in GP, maybe.
Yeah, and this is a close race. Chroma has a 1-gem lead, and he has done what we think was the longest, nastiest palace, P5, as well as P1, which was basically free. And I missed much of P4 when Chroma was in it, but I think it was pretty quick because by the time I noticed he was in it, he was fighting Karak. So it may be that there was a faster route that MiRai has not found.
Yeah, I think with P1 being so quick, like just 2 or 3 rooms, that this is closer than it looks. I think Chroma is probably ahead. But I don't think it's a matter of too many minutes ahead.
Yeah. And now we're going to have simultaneous boss fights. Chroma with downstab is taking Rebenak into a corner. And MiRai is standing or crouching patiently in a corner and waiting for Karak to do Karak things, which he has done, and almost simultaneous boss kills. A magic level for Chroma, and this will be, and MiRai's just burning the gem. He's done with levels, so I believe this is going to put them on equal footing level wise once Chroma finishes claiming that level during his walk here. Yep, they're both 5.56, so that's plenty, of course, for these runners. And this high P1 by P1 for MiRai. That was
MiRai may actually take
first
the level here just because he can walk out and just continue walking to Palace 5, I guess. Or whatever.
We'll see if he wants to waste that much time. Even just. Well, he's thinking about it. Yeah, and he doesn't. He just up and is out. The thinking about it probably took him more time than the waiting for it, but so it goes.
Yeah, he is very devoted to setting those gems on fire.
Yeah. He's doing it for you, chat.
Yeah, I would say I think Chroma still might be in the lead just a bit, if only because Palace 5 seemed so long. MiRai could always just kind of smoke through it and find the right path, but we'll see.
And Chroma's still checking caves, still poking his nose at that river devil, and the expression on his face is that he really hopes that the flute is not required to get past that river devil, because he isn't sure of it yet. But he will eventually find that he's okay.
He's about to find the stuff
around.
he needs right here. So he's getting, that's New Kasuto, then Palace 5 or Palace 6 is just to the east, and Death Valley to the north.
Yeah. And he just found the key, that the hint that the magic key is in 6. We'll see how that affects his routing. And we'll also see, given that he just got that hint, whether he bothers to go to Spell Tower or pick up the spell. My guess would be he doesn't, but he is. He is not sure that it won't be useful.
I don't know what he could be looking for the flute, like you were saying earlier, but I don't like this play.
Yeah, I'm surprised that even if it might be the food, I'm surprised he didn't finish checking the map first. But he will find,
Yeah.
I think this was a heart container, yeah, so, he won't turn it down, obviously. It's just a little bit of a time loss walking in and out. And MiRai is into, I believe this is P5.
It
I
is.
think this was the color. And, and there are the frowny faces again. Now I see a room with pillars in it. So we'll see how long it takes him to find Guma. If there is a faster route than Chroma found, that could be the difference in this race very easily. Though, of course, we still have GP routing, the great equalizer, to be also potentially be the difference in this race. And now Chroma knows he's in go mode. He's found his last palace.
Yeah, Palace 3 was not long, so I would expect we're going to be in Great Palace maybe within 5 minutes. And then it's just going to be a race to the finish, which is just what it is.
Yep.
Tautological, but okay.
Yeah, Chroma still has to go through Death Valley because the other palace he's missing is P2. So there's still that and P6 routing. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty close race, it looks like.
Yeah. But Death Valley will probably get some more link feet, which is always fun.
Yeah.
And intimidating, but fun.
Yes. No, it is always great to see the best runners strut their stuff performing the most finicky tech. Of course, I have no idea. Go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, I think Barba might be up this elevator. Nope. Oh, maybe. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, good call. I was just about to say that I have no idea whether either of these runners are on the right path, but that's why we keep experts like you around. And I think Chroma has a higher attack level than MiRai did, so that was a very quick, very efficient Barba fight. Well done.
Yeah, despite not doing the he doesn't have a key. Despite not doing the downstab on him, those were both really good Barba fights. MiRai was getting 7 or 8 hits in, and Chroma was doing pretty close to that as well, which is not easy at all.
Yeah, and he is going to get another level as he walks this out. I think he's now looking for the Death Valley entrance, and unfortunately, he's going the wrong way at the moment, but it won't take him too long before he's forced to backtrack and pick up the passageway through the mountains that he has seen, but just doesn't know that it goes up to Death Valley.
Yeah, I totally get not wanting to walk through the swamp if you don't have to.
Yeah, and here it is. So he'll be in Death Valley shortly, and then in P2 shortly. And meanwhile, P5 is doing P5 things for MiRai as well. It looks like there was not, in fact, a shorter route to Guma, but right on cue, here he is. And we'll see MiRai is pretty low on health, does have shield, just took and he's just going to take a death and start over, which is a sensible choice. So he'll be able to go at this with full health. And he probably would have needed magic for fairy anyway afterwards. So. Yeah, and 2 was not that long. It wasn't trivial, but I would say it's probably about 3 minutes long. Was 3 minutes long or so for MiRai. And there is Guma down for MiRai. Nicely done. he is upset about having to waste time taking that level because he had enough P for it. Runners can't see his face. Excuse me, chat can't see his facial expressions on this stream, but they are on the commentary page. And he was like, "Why are you making me do this?" It was very funny. MiRai's stream is, if you've never watched his personal stream, he often, of course, does streams races that are not in tournaments and not restream. And it is quite an experience. If you've ever heard his commentary persona, and his streamer persona are not entirely the same, and it's amusing to see and hear the differences.
Yeah, I think his stream is rated TVMA.
I was trying to be a little more. I was trying to not say that directly, but yes. And this is, I believe, a jump or ferry blocked room that Chroma is ferrying across. And I don't think he bothered. Yeah, no, he didn't pick up jump because he didn't have the medicine yet when he was there. We already covered that.
That jumper ferry room is a little bit of a pain because if you kill the enemies in it and don't realize what it is, you can soft lock yourself.
Yeah, I have seen people soft lock. I actually saw somebody get out of that room once because one of the enemies there was a jumping Stalfos, and he had downstab and was able to bounce off the jumping Stalfos's head. That was Chadbert, I think I saw doing that. That was a lot of fun. It took him several tries, but of course that enemy can't be injured by downstab, so he was able to pull it off. That was quite the trick. Speaking of places where you can bounce off enemies' heads, that gap, you can't jump over it, even with the jump spell. But if you get the right enemy set, you can downstab bounce over it. But it's much quicker to just ferry, unless you get a perfect setup. And there wasn't any enemy in there at all. And Chroma up Aing. That's a little unfortunate.
MiRai just
so he'll have to
definitely taking the lead now by a few seconds at least. So he's going to be the first one into Great Palace, assuming there's not a disaster against Rebanak. And there's not.
And there was not. GP is on Maze Island. They both know how to get to it. It takes a minute, but not too long.
Yeah, this room that Chrome was in, you can also get over with the dash spell, but we don't have the dash spell in this tournament, sadly. So look for it in Max Rando, maybe.
I assume it's randomized in Max Rando whether the dash spell shows up or not.
Yeah, the new version of the randomizer that Elendar's put together has an option to randomize which spell or which fire option you get. So it could be fire link to nothing, fire link to a spell, or dash with some likelihood. And I'm imagining that's going to be turned on.
Yeah, and that'll be a lot of fun. That was about 56-42 from MiRai going into GP. So here we are.
Oh, and there we get an answer to that question where if GP is on Maze Island, we do see Moas even without the cross. So that is good information. Well, it's good information if you're going to run this game, I guess.
It is a useful thing to know. So I think the maximum in these settings is 48 rooms for Great Palace. Do I remember that correctly?
I don't know. It's still a lot.
It's still a lot. And it can seem like more because a bunch of those rooms are going to loop. And yeah, GP is always GP.
I think Chroma might be on the right path finally. I'm pretty sure MiRai saw the item room and Chroma just did. Yeah, here's Rebanak or Helmet Head for MiRai. I can't talk. Helmet Head for Chroma.
Yeah. And as usual, the time it takes us to get out the tongue twister, down he goes. Yeah, we'll see, but it's just going to be about 3 minutes behind for Chroma into GP.
So just about an hour in, this has been kind of a wide open seed. We had an islands west, and no real blocks in the east. So it's kind of been find glove, find fairy, and go. We took a little while to find fairy because it was in the last town we found on the east, Old Kasuto. But aside from that, it's just been kind of a matter of walk to the place and do the palaces and not
Yeah,
a hard.
you can't call this a jet steed really, because some of the things were in the last places you looked, more or less, but they were all available. It wasn't a time when there were lots of long item chains, which is what often slows a seed down.
Yeah, Chroma's going into Mito to get jump, which it's a really valuable spell for Great Palace, but if he knew where he was in this race, I don't think he would be.
Yeah, I suspect he figures that he's behind at this point, and that he's hoping that GP is awful and that maybe jump saves him enough time to be worth it. But he's gambling on a bad GP at this point. I think he knows that that's probably his best shot.
He also,
And he is not
neither
wrong.
of them have upstab, so he might be just doing that as a guarantee for, most of an upstab skip. But yeah, we'll see.
And Chroma into GP at 1 hour and 1 second. So yeah, that was about 3.5 minutes almost behind. But GP routing, let's see where. Obviously, he has to go left, and MiRai just up 8. So there's an information advantage, but we are basically even. And while we have hit the 1 hour mark and the runners are in the early stages of GP, let me thank you all for tuning in to this ZSR presentation of Grand Finals Game 3, of the Zelda 2 Randomizer Tournament. This is MiRai and Chromataclysm. They have put on a great show for us. I'm Blumsha. I've been joined by BKPKT Patrick. Thank you very much for joining in. Patrick and VT Slacker are doing the tracking. Golden Devil is our restreamer. Thank you all for doing such a wonderful job, and thank you, chat, for tuning in.
Thank you, Bloomshaw, as well. And it's just VT on the tracking. I am only doing comms tonight.
Okay. We put this together pretty late pretty close to the last minute. So there was some question about exactly who was tracking, and that's why the ZSR bot was not finally updated with what eventually happened. But everybody is here. Everybody has been working, and we hope you're enjoying it. And MiRai is not enjoying this chicken and waffles room. But he does get through it. Yeah, and as Chad Atherton has already been answered, but I'll say it out loud. There will be a Game 4. This is a best-of-5 series, and it is currently tied 1 game apiece. So you have more great Z2 randomizer action to look forward to before this tournament concludes. And then our next tournament will be the Max Rando tournament, and I do not have the start date for that in front of me. But I do know that many of the runners have already started practicing their Max Rando. So it won't be too long before that starts.
Yeah, Max Rando usually starts in February, I believe. So it'll be coming up soon.
Yep. And in the meantime, of course, there is almost always the Z2R weekly race. So hopefully you will still be able to get your Z2R fixes if you need them until Max Rando starts up in February.
Yep.
And the Alan Heffley, who is in charge of tournaments. It is a volunteer position. We are all very grateful to Alan for having handled it for so much time and continuing to handle it. He says that details regarding the Max Rando tournament will hopefully be available soon as this tournament ends and we have the headspace to think about them. And by we, I mean other people, because I just talk, I don't think. And there's an up A for Chroma. So now we have no idea who is on the right path and who is wandering around in the darkness. And chat telling me that that Chroma just found the same long dead end that MiRai had found. So that is a bit unfortunate for him.
Yeah, it seems like they're following the same kind of routing algorithm, which is not a good sign if you're behind. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Chroma is going down another path that MiRai's explored at this point.
Yeah, we'll have to see whether Chroma takes a stray left somewhere that MiRai chose not to. And oh, here's Thunderbird from MiRai, and hopefully he has enough to cast Thunder. And it looks like he does. And loses the pendulum a bit, but he still has another bop or two remaining, and Thunderbird is pretty close to down. There we go.
That was closer than he wanted.
Yes, MiRai is not happy about how that fight went, but he did get through it. And they've seen a fair bit of the palace at this point, so I'm sure he's hoping that Darklink is not far beyond. Hello, Kingbot. Nice to see you, too.
That is a sneakily difficult room to get through at the beginning, where the first jump up onto that 3-tile high platform is not necessarily free. And like you can get the flying enemy or the big bot or whatever's up there can finally come and like fall on you, and it's frustrating. MiRai handled that really nicely.
When there's the death, and MiRai, oh, he does have another life left. Okay, phew. All right. Now, am I correct that if you break up the king bot in a room, it despawns all of the other enemies? So that's another way to get through some nasty chicken knights if they show up in a room with the king bot?
Yeah, that'll almost always work. If you break up the king bot like on one end of a long room, it sometimes won't despawn everything on the far end. But in general, it will just kind of make everything in the room disappear. That also goes for like the hidden magic jars if you're trying to refill, or the fairy, I think. But here is Darklink. So
MiRai does not look happy because there is very little one can do to speed up this fight. But unbeknownst to him, he has plenty of time. So get your GGs in chat for MiRai. And there is a final, and MiRai is very excited, and as he deserves to be, he finishes in first place with an official time of, it just scrolled past on my screen, sorry.
.107.13. That is.
Thank you.
Yep.
And Chroma has seen the news. It is clear from his face cam. He saw the dot done and not happy, but obviously not too upset. And he's just up 8 again, and it looks like he is going to go in and finish this one. Yeah, and as Chad is saying, this definitely was a seed where gambling on a left could have made a difference. And unfortunately, MiRai found the correct left before Chroma did. Trails, no. Race 2 happened just before this, so this has already been a double header. You can, no spoilers, please. You can go back and watch that VOD at your leisure if you would like to. But games 4 and 5, I believe, have not yet been scheduled, but should be happening, at least game 4 sometime within the next week. But of course, we will let the runners get to that when they get to that, as they have already had a ton of work tonight, playing 2 great races for us. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. We will obviously talk about the result of Game 2 during the interviews, because there was no interview between the 2 games, so this interview will cover both of them. So if you don't want spoilers for Game 2, unfortunately you have to close your ears. But yeah.
Hey, good game, MiRai.
Thank you. What?
Welcome in, MiRai. GG's.
Oh, Blumshot, what's going on, Patrick?
Hey, that was exciting to watch. I hope it wasn't too obnoxious to play, though it was obviously very stressful. How did it feel for you?
Stressful is the word for sure. These GPs, man, and we could talk about the GPs. Both of them were lefts, and then more lefts. In the first one, it was left, and I didn't go left. I went right and some other place, and then I went left and found Thunderbird, and then went right and found the rest of GP behind Thunderbird, and then found that. But it sounds like I had quite a lead in the first one. But the second one here, I assume Chrome is in GP right now because he hasn't just thrown in a towel.
He's actually on Thunderbird at the moment. Okay. There was a point at which you up aid and you were going back in at exactly the same time, the two of you.
Wow.
But you had an exploration lead and basically took exactly the same routes. So he was, you were about a little over 3 minutes ahead going into GP, and it'll be about that for the finish, a little more than that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I had seen the loops in whatever I saw the first time. I saw 2 dead ends and up an aid, and then I saw more loops. I forgot about one of the lefts, but when I saw the left side of that room, I was like, oh yeah, there's this left as well. Okay, I don't need that. And then we saw another left-hand side of a room. I'm like, okay, I don't need that. It's got to be just hold left here. And it was after some point to get to Thunderbird. Jesus Christ. Oh. I just didn't want to go out tonight. I'm glad that I took both. Big GG's to Chroma. Well, I'm sure he'll be in here shortly. But oh my God, I definitely wanted to push to a game 4, but I didn't expect to take both of them. But man, I'm glad.
I did not catch much of game 2. I was actually sleeping for most of it. I just woke up in time to come. But I did catch all of game 3, and I know that game 2 you did have a pretty big lead. There were some bad luck in overworld routing. In this one, there was a little bad luck in overworld routing, but Chroma still found everything he needed within reasonable time, and it was just a close race.
It was a pretty wild. The islands biome right there, boots immediately, opens everything up. There's okay, and I just checked the border because once I went into Saria, I talked to the bot because sometimes the bot is bugged and actually gives a hint instead of Bagu's location, but he gave Bagu's location, and I knew where Bagu was, and I knew then we were on the border of the island's continent, the biome, and so then I just took it up the left-hand side to see if there was a connector there. It was immediately into east, and then Hammer Cave and water, desert, all that stuff. I don't remember if that yielded anything too interesting. It was trophy and just some magic containers, I think.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't remember exactly. I believe we are joined now by Chroma. GG's, Chroma.
Hey, what's up? Thank you.
GG, dude.
Yeah. That was a good game. Like, honestly, I couldn't see what you were doing in GP, but based on the timing, I can assume that you did a little better than I did, because I saw every room.
I might have seen every room, but I recognized loops ahead of time, so I didn't walk through every room necessarily. It sounds like I had about a 3-minute lead into this GP, and I checked right first, and Yeah, and it took it around, and took it all the way down and around up into 2 dead ends, up an aid, and I had seen there was a left fairy room, there was the left at the glove block, there was downstairs and left, and I went just held left at the glove block at that point, and then I saw both the other sides of those loops that I had remaining still, those pathways that I had remaining still. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep going this way, and it was just hold left, and I was like, this man, you and your lefts, and here I am, both palaces, dude, both GPs. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous that all this, and I'm just the hardest thumping. My Thunderbird fights are terrible. They're not tutorial worthy. They're both horrendous. Dude, oh my God. And I saw, going back to this seat here, in 6, did you go left in 6?
What I did in 6 is I went all the way down the big long elevator.
Yeah.
And then basically just took it from there. I was really fast through 6. Like that was probably the best like routing that happened in the run.
Well, it was even faster because I did the same thing you did.
Are you serious?
Yes, and then I thought I would just gamble to see if I could find the magic key in 6. I was just going to go left at start, and left at start led to that elevator that was on Barba. That was 3 or 4 rooms to the left at start was immediately Barba there, and I was like, wow. If Chroma went left, I kind of spent a little bit of extra time in here.
Still a fast 6.
Yeah, it was still a nice 6, exactly.
Where were you at when you fought Guma?
I was in P5.
Well, great. What was your leveling scheme?
Okay, so over on the east, I found Fairy. That was the last thing I found, but I backed out of Old Kasuto. There was the double Durity encounter there that I was screwing around with a little bit. 300-point orange Lizalfos, 500-point blue Lizalfos, 300-point Scorpions that I was thundering, and I was getting some levels there, and I made sure that I was, I had gotten attack 5. Did I get attack 5 before that point? Yeah. I might have. I know I got life 6 there. I think I was 5, 4, 6 or something going into Palace 6. And I got 2 magic levels, and I got 1. I was going to be 5, 5, 6. I was burning gems at that point. But killing Guma, I got the level after killing Guma, and I just took the magic level at that point. So that gave me 5, 6, 6. But P5.
Was attack 4, last hit. He killed me on the last hit. Like, one more hit, he would have been down. But... I didn't lose too much time to that, maybe a minute, because I was on attack 4, no down stab, took forever.
Yeah,
but
I did.
Those are always rough.
I did route in down stab before 5 because I was kind of tired of possibly losing time in Palaces not having down stab because I did 6, I did 2 in Death Valley, up and 8 out of there, did 4, did 1. 1 was extremely fat, bottom of the first elevator. And then before I went into 5, I was like, in case 5 is long and it's going to be full of nonsense. There had been a lot of doors in some of these palaces, and even though Fairy was 20 to cast for me, I was like, man, there was one time I did have to take a death because I went through so many doors, dead-ended myself, and had to take a death to get through the next door. And I was like, let me just go get downstab because I want to make sure that if I'm having to take deaths and I'm having to ferry through all these rooms, I want to be able to make sure that I don't get caught up in any hallways with, Iron Knuckle slowing me down and anything else. So, plus I had medicine, so it was a 2-for-1 jump and downstab there.
Yeah, the medicine was a non-trivial difference, MiRai, because you found it a lot earlier than Chroma did.
Right.
Okay.
I had I burned whatever it is, minute and a half going through Mito there too. So it's funny, some of these little gambles that aren't really huge, like the safety moves that go against the gut. Like if I had gone with the gut, it might have been a little closer. I'm doing that the next time. Like, elimination match. I'm not playing safe. There's no chance. I'm going to go with my gut the whole way.
Yeah, there was obviously no one thing that decided this race, but there were a lot of little things that were just cumulative bad luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I feel though. Like as I play this, because again, 6. When I realized that 6 was ultra fast, if you just went left at start, I was like, okay, because that was my first palace, and then immediately I'm thinking, okay, Chroma might have done that, and he might have had a faster 6, and then 2. I don't know. I don't remember if I full cleared this 2. I think I did. Full clear this 2, and that didn't feel good. Up and 8 out of there. 4 wasn't amazing either, but I definitely didn't full clear it. But it wasn't ultra fast. 1 was ultra fast. 5 was not fast for me.
No. I don't think there was any way. Like it was just a very long corridor.
Yeah.
And then a very tough boss.
Yeah. Yeah. And then 3, there was an I junction that you hit first. It was a left hit start immediately, and then you were forced into an I junction 2 You had a left at the bottom of the elevator, a left at the top, and a right at the top. And I'm like, oh god, there's 2 lefts, and Chroma's gonna take one of these, and it's gonna be stupid Rebo. And I just went right.
I went right. I went right the whole time. Why did I do that?
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't know. Yeah, it's true that P2 and P6 would have probably been better routed left, but one was a non-issue. That wasn't even a possibility to go left because it was horsehead right there. But I don't know if 4 would have gotten you, a left and 4 would have gotten you to Karak any faster.
2 and 4 went pretty well. Like honestly, like overall, routing I don't think was a huge issue. Like it's
that's what I would
not
say
even
too.
worth dwelling on. It was just literally just a randomizer race between the champs. Like
Yeah, it was absolutely a joy to watch the 2 of you. This was a really fun race to watch.
Glad to hear that. Like MiRai's combat has like that's what I've noticed the most. Like you're throwing in the doubles, you've got like the swag all over the place now. So like it does feel really good to be racing against you.
We've talked about this before. It's like once you get to that point of double hits and you start just kind of mastering the combat, the next step is only swag. There's only swag to go on after that. That's S tier right there.
Yeah. It's the only reason I play the game anymore. Like,
We were all disappointed. We were all disappointed that neither of you had downstab when you killed Barba, so you had to do it the slow, easy way. But you both had really nice Barba fights.
Yeah, need to learn the new strat. Might put some time in before our next match. You can brush up on Link Feet, and I'll do the quick Barba or the standing jackhammer, whatever it's called.
I'm glad that Link Feet did not come into play today because I am terrible at it. So there, I'm showing part of my hand, but then again, maybe I'm lying, maybe I'm bluffing here. And next race, you'll be like, I'm just going to Link Feet my way in here because Mirai's not going to, and then I'm going to go a different way. And maybe I'll be right behind you, or maybe I'll be getting the magic key somewhere special, and you'll be messing around in Death Valley or something. Who knows?
Who knows? I can't wait.
Neither can I. I was telling my chat I just didn't want to go out tonight. I'm glad I took that first one. It sounds like it was a little lopsided because you gambled on what was left on the east over there.
So the way I'm looking at it is like I won the first game at home. Then I had 2 games away, and I'm not supposed to win those. So the next 2 are back at home.
There you go.
And you might steal one. We'll see.
I think as long as we get a game 5, then everybody will be happy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what
cheering
that is
for sports.
I'm Team 5 in the audience. I'm Team finish this as quickly as possible if I'm running.
As it should be.
So I got company. So I'm gonna dip out pretty quick here, but really appreciate all the work going into both restreams and the competition, of course. Thanks to everybody.
I was gonna say special thanks to Light and Unos for comms on the first race. I asked, I ran it by Chroma. I was like, you wanna get Light and a guest appearance from his choice in here? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So I asked Light, and Light's like, let me see if Unos wants to do it. I'm like, all right, that's cool. And so guest appearance from Light and Unos. Check is in the mail, gentlemen. Thanks for filling in game 1. I'm waiting to hear that back in terms of commentary because those 2 are probably like, well, he didn't get first frame in the doorway, and well, that's 14 frames lost on the spell tower, and stuff like that. So I can't wait.
Yeah, should be good. All right, appreciate it. We'll coordinate soon. See you.
Yeah, and thanks to Golden Devil and VT and Blumshaw and Patrick and everyone else. So yeah, huge thanks to everyone putting this on.
Thank you.
You just you got everything I was gonna say, MiRai.
We're done. Check the schedule, ZeldaSpeedRuns.com/schedule. I don't know what's coming up.
We've got the Restreamer Blind Wind Waker Randomizer tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. That's one of the incentives from last weekend's marathon. Some Tears of the Kingdom semifinals as well tomorrow, so check the schedule. There's a lot more Zelda stuff going on. We're going to go raid Endy, who's running Zelda 2 All Dungeons, and I hope everyone has a good Friday night. Thanks for watching.